All right, we are going to go to Rachel Okello. You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running Africa. I'm going to go to the phone lines to speak with practicing solicitor, currently based in the UK, my sister Rachel Okello. She has been committed to the stability, development, and growth of the northern part of Uganda for well over a decade. And she's talked many times in this space about that and the work that she's doing in Uganda. She's also talked about how she has invested in Ginger Eastern Uganda and has been encouraging so many of us to do likewise. Rachel is a British-born of Caribbean heritage and is married to a Ugandan. She has studied at the university in the UK and in France. She considers herself very much to be a citizen of the world. So welcome, citizen of the world. Thank you so much.
Hello, very good morning, isn't it, in Jamaica?
It is 7:40, 20 minutes to 8, and I know you're all waiting now for the Armageddon alert.
What are you calling the Armageddon alert?
Look at Rachel, all of you are going to get...
Oh my goodness me, yes.
So, interestingly, when I was scheduling the interview, I said to Shamana, we have to schedule it early because I wasn't quite sure what time that alert would come on, and your phone might be in danger of just going off.
Yes.
So here we are.
UK time. UK time.
There you go. So, wow. All right. Remember now you have to swipe or press OK, even though they say you don't have to do anything.
Yes, you have to swipe apparently. I'll wait and see what happens. Goodness me.
We're checking back with you to see exactly how that goes. But Rach, thank you so much for the work you're doing on the continent of Africa, your team. I follow you on the spaces, social media spaces, and watch the videos and so on, and especially the work you're doing in Uganda and now in Ghana. So we know the Uganda work very well. But before we go to Ghana, remind us of what's happening in Uganda and the work that you've been doing there.
So Uganda is agricultural work that we do. I have a farm which we call our African farm, and that is particularly to get people from the diaspora, black people basically who are not living in Africa, to farm with us in Uganda and have a return on investment from the farming. So we grow rice, tree plantation. I'm just setting up the bee farming product that we'll be doing there. So it's really to get people to visit Uganda for agricultural purposes.
How is that going?
It's going very well. We've got a lot of interest. Uganda at the moment, you may hear, is welcoming back the Asian community who were expelled previously by Idi Amin. So there's a lot of work being done to welcome them back. The High Commissioner for Uganda in the UK is an Asian lady, and the consul in the West Midlands region where I live for Uganda is an Asian gentleman. So that's really to say that we have to really get ourselves as black people in order and make sure that we are also included in this sort of renewal of interest in Africa.
This is interesting information. We're going to follow that up later on, so I'm making a note of that. And then Ghana, because we were in Ghana for the year of return. What a wonderful time it was. But coming out of that, I know that you are now involved in a project which has gone beyond just coming in for Panafest and coming in to party and so on. But how do we now settle or resettle in terms of repatriation in Ghana? Tell us about that project.
Yeah, so now there was the year of return, and following on from that, they are now between 2020 to 2030 in the phase of beyond the return. So the year of return was great. It was great for tourism, but they want people to really relocate to Ghana either to live or to invest or to visit on a regular basis. And so the chief in the area that I'm involved in, which is called Asebu region, it's in the central region of Ghana near Cape Coast. It's actually half an hour drive from Cape Coast for people who know Ghana well, just near Yamaransa. So the chief there has heard the president tell people to return to Ghana, return home. And he contacted the president to say, well, you're telling people to return home, but outside of holidaying and visiting hotels, they don't have anywhere to return to. And so he offered 5,000 acres of land, this chief Okatakyi Amenfi VII. He got together with his elders in the traditional council of Asebu, and they together offered 5,000 acres of land for free. You do pay registration fees, but the land is for free for people to come and live on that land. So me being an immigration solicitor from the UK and helping so many people come to live in the UK, I thought, you know something, I would love to use those skills and help people to live in Africa. And because that door opens for Ghana, I thought this is my inroad to use my skills to help people who wish to live in Africa.
Okay, brilliant. Brilliant. And on the part of the chief, I think this is great visionary thinking, because we had similar discussions when we were broadcasting live from, I remember, the Cape Coast Castle during the dungeons, actually, during the year of return. We're asking, okay, yes, so we talk about, come back, but this is all tourist-like. This is tourism. It's been done by the tourism ministry and so on. So how do we return? What's the process of return? Now, so we have the offer of the land. And what does that entail, though? How does that work for persons who are interested in returning to Ghana and taking up this particular invitation?
Yes, so they have a land offer, and the offer is 70 by 100 feet, and you will be allocated a plot of land if you wish to take that opportunity. There are registration and administration fees of 1,200 for each plot of land that you're allocated. The chief has already organised the electricity in the area. The plots have been mapped out and the roads have been allocated but need to be done. And there are already people living on the land. They've built their houses, and there's a vibrant Jamaican community. In fact, I would say the people who there's a few African Americans there, but the people who've really taken up this opportunity are people from Jamaica, either coming directly from Jamaica or who've lived in the UK or Canada or America. I mean, if you see the house they built there, proper Jamaican standard house,
I've seen some of those photographs, and yes. So Jamaicans and others, Americans, African Americans, and Africans from the UK, they are taking up this offer.
Definitely. I mean, when I went there, because obviously as a solicitor, I need to be telling people correct information. So I went there, I met with the chief himself, and I walked around the Pan African Village. I visited the administration, the office in the palace, and I stayed on the Pan African Village with a Jamaican gentleman who has returned. He was in the UK, but he's returned to live in Ghana. And I stayed with him on the Pan African Village at his home. So, as much as Ghanaians fly their own flag, they also fly the Jamaican flag. So you can be in Ghana, and you've seen it yourself probably. And also, probably since the year of return, the Jamaican and the Ghanaian flag more or less fly side by side. So there's a lot of Jamaicans who've taken up this offer.
All right. What's the process for Jamaicans?
The process would be, because you can go on the website, but what I would say to people, because they've got a website called asebuman.com, and you can get some of the information from there. But they're very busy and they're working out their admin. So I have said to the chief that we will work directly with him. So if people want to get more information, they can come through myself, even if they're in Jamaica. And my website is clarityvisas.com. It's my usual website. And they can just leave a message there on the website and just say they're interested in getting some of the land, and then I can contact them from there. That'll be a quicker process. Because going through their official website takes it's a long process, and you may not even get an answer. Which is what happened to me, really. So that's why I had to go myself.
Right. Give us that website again for you.
So it's clarityvisas.com.
Clarityvisas.com. .com. And just leave a message, and then you'll contact the person who's interested.
I'll contact them. Yeah.
All right.
On social media, a lot of people contact me on my social media and take it from there. What we are also going to have, we did have a online meeting. I think you were on that meeting.
I was, yes. Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, yes. So we're going to have a repeat of that, and it was really good to bring the chief on. So the chief who spoke is the actual paramount chief who started off this whole project. And if you've been to Cape Coast, then you would have driven past Asebu through Yamaransa. So it's in that area. It's in the Cape Coast area. So basically, if you want to go to the bank, for example, or a proper big shop, you'll go to Cape Coast. That's how near it is. Yeah, so that's the process.
All right. It sounds very good. There are questions, I'm sure, and I've heard this raised in some of the fora that we've been in, just generally about gaining land in Africa, especially in West Africa and in Ghana. When we were in Ghana last time in the year of return, I remember that I had to intervene for one of our brothers who bought land that was sold over and over and over again. So there are some issues, just like Jamaica, by the way, let me just say this. Jamaican people do, get into the very same kind of thing, which at the end of the day resembles a scam. Now, this is really above board, and I want you to contextualize that and foreground that for us, because I know that there are doubts in people's minds when it comes to, land is free. All you have to do is pay registration. So talk to us about how credible this is, the offer, the process, the land.
Right, so absolutely. So I don't sell land in Africa, as tempting as it is. There's so much land in Africa that can be sold, but for the reasons that you said, the double selling and the scamming, I don't sell land in Africa because you just can't be sure that people are going to guess what they paid for. There's certain processes, and it's the Caribbean and it's all around Africa that these sorts of things happen. So I only deal with the land in Asebu because I've been there, spoken to the chief, and he's a paramount chief. So that's to say he's the chief of all chiefs, the king of all kings, if you like. So he's the paramount chief of that area, and he spoke directly to the president to get this endorsed. So the land that he is giving is land that has been agreed with the traditional council. And actually, in Africa, it is not unknown for people to give land.
Right.
Yes, so for example, in Uganda, where my husband is from, when the Nubian people were chased out of their homeland, the king of the Buganda kingdom gave them land to live there and settle there, and they're there to this day. So it's not unusual for a king or a chief to give land. So it's in that context that he has said, well, these people, you're telling them to come home, but they haven't got a home. So we are going to give them this land. So it happens all over Africa. And in terms of the legitimacy of this particular project, that's why I say to people, don't buy it online, come to Asebu yourself. And because I always say, if you can't make it to go there before you send your money there to register, you may not go there at all. So there's a lot of people who have got their land, but they've not gone there to develop it. So you need to develop this land within 2 years, or you run the risk of it being taken from you.
And that reminds me of Shashamane. Hold for me, please, Rachel. Let me take a break and come back. Thanks. You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running Africa, and my very special guest online is practicing solicitor based in the UK, Pan-African, Rachel Okello, doing wonderful work on the continent of Africa. Now, we're talking about land that is available and is being offered to us, Africans in the diaspora, for free. Thank you for staying with us, Rachel. Just before we went into the break, you talked about, so there are certain caveats that you have to bear in mind regarding the land. One is that it has to be developed within a certain time period, right?
Yes. So the chief's a very nice gentleman, very kind, and he's not going to really say 2 years and then we're taking your land back, but that's what your lease will say. So you need to be thinking, if by 2-3 years you really cannot develop that land, it's best to just leave it, because one of the things that we'll be going through with people is how much it's going to cost to build on the land. And really, if that's not within your budget in the next, say, 3 years, where you can't do anything at all, you don't have to finish, but at least you have to start something. If you can't do anything at all, it's best to just leave it at risk of losing it altogether.
And so in terms of, to understand what developing the land means, it is to begin at least to build.
Yes, because it's residential. It's for people to go there and settle and continue to have that as a sort of homeland for their family. So it's a residential area. So you're expected in that area to build. So it's phase 1 and phase 2. And phase 1, phase 2 is for building. There are other lands available as well for agriculture. So if you said, oh, I want to go there, but I want to do agriculture, farming, then we would need to approach the chief and say, look, somebody wants to do farming, and if you've got a good business plan, then you could get land for farming purposes. Or if you wanted to do a different business, retail, then you could get land for retail purposes, to have a shop or something else on the land as well. But within that period, you do need to have started your development.
Do we have a ballpark figure as to what it may cost to build, say, a 2-bedroom?
Well, where we stayed, he had a 3-bedroom with ensuite, and his was around £30,000. So I don't know what that is in dollars or Jamaican money, but that's what it was around. So.
Well, that's pretty reasonable, though. Just hearing that off the top of my head, and I'm doing that because we have talked about what land costs generally, and we know that there's land going in Ghana, for example, for £20,000, and that's just land by itself. So you're getting the land for free, and if you're going to build a decent 3-bedroom on a property that you're already getting for free, then you can.
Yes, I've just done a quick calculation, so it's looking like between 5 to 7 million, because things happen, don't they?
Right.
So 5 to 7 million Jamaican dollars.
All right. We can't get a house here for 5 million. There's no house here for 5 million Jamaican dollars. You have to.
Because you're going to build. I mean, Jamaican people have an advantage to us in the UK. I mean, I've built a house now in Uganda, but most people haven't built a house. So Jamaican people, I think, may have that advantage and that experience of building. There's one man there who's Jamaican, directly from Jamaica he came, and he's building there. And in fact, he's building for other people as well. So he's got himself now a construction business, because he's a builder from Jamaica. He's building his house, and then he's building for other people as well. So if people are interested, then we can always put them in touch with such people, and then they can discuss exactly what house they want to have, and then we can do the project management so we can get an exact figure. So that's just we might want to have a 1-bedroom, because the gentleman I stayed with, he started off with a 1-bedroom, but his family wanted him to expand it more, so they chipped in. But, you could have it for less to suit your budget.
Are there any other caveats? One is you build within 2 to 3 years. Anything else that we should know?
Yeah, the other thing people always question, it's not freehold land. In northern Uganda, if you're a citizen, you can get freehold land. Visiting foreigners get leasehold. In Ghana, everybody gets leasehold, even Ghanaians. So I don't know how it works in Jamaica, but for Caribbean people here, they are very hung up on the fact that it's not freehold in Ghana.
Right,
so
because
in leasehold.
Yes, so it's a little bit different here in Jamaica. But we understand. I mean, Jamaican people generally understand that this is how it works in Ghana. I'm sorry, Rachel, just hold for me, please.
The time by Optical Elements is
2 minutes after 8 o'clock. We're back with Rachel Okello talking about land that is available and is being offered for free to us, Jamaicans or people in the African diaspora. Is it general diaspora, or is it Jamaicans and UK or Caribbean people in UK?
It's black people of African heritage.
Okay.
So, yes, it's people from anywhere from the African diaspora.
Right. And then you were telling me about the other caveats, if any.
Yes, one is so you get a leasehold, and it's a 55-year lease which can be renewed. And then the second thing, it may be that Jamaican people understand better, but it's not to be sold, you can't sell it. So it's the same kind of land, like for us in Grenada, where we have family land, and it's not going to be sold by anybody. So this is not commercial land where you're going to say, let me buy it and sell it later on, or let me get it. If you buy land, you can sell it. This land is not being sold, it's being given. So you can't sell it later to somebody else. It's supposed to be a part of your family.
And then for you, Rachel, and your company, what do you offer to persons who reach out to you now regarding this land? What do you offer? What kind of services?
Yes, so we will be working directly with the palace. So if people contact us, then we can put them in touch with the palace, and the admin staff are the ones who actually process the documents. So when you make that payment, which is $1,200 American, you're already paying them to do that service for you. So from my point of view, actually at this moment in time, I'm just passing on information really.
Yeah.
And I'm also having online meetings with people, which at the moment are free anyway. And then we're organising a trip to Ghana in October, so people can also ask to register their interest. so that we can keep them up to date. They can go to Ghana in October this year or next year. So it's the trips to Ghana that I'm doing, and if people need help with their visas to Ghana, then we can also help them get their visa. So it's just like immigration services.
Brilliant. This is good for us because I know that from here in Jamaica, and Sister P, text me Sister P, I know there's a trip from Jamaica to Ghana late September, October. So when in October are you going to be there?
The 5th.
So it's early October. So it's good. So it sounds as if it might be corresponding with the trip that is planned from here to Ghana, September, October. So that would be brilliant. So people could meet up with you there and then go get information or just go to the land. Follow you literally.
Yeah. We can all meet up. Certainly, you know, when I got there, actually what welcomed me was the Jamaican flag, because the person who was my contact, she said, I'm going to have the Jamaican flag flying to you. And in the whole sea of people, I was so glad to see the Jamaican flag.
Of course.
So definitely, it's a whole network of people on the ground. And we're really there to help each other. You know, so it's definitely we can do that.
And we need to do this right. Go ahead.
People can also come on our trip, because anywhere in the world we're going to meet in Amsterdam and then take one flight to Ghana. And just on that point, actually, let me just say, for Jamaica, they need visas. You know, we go through this a lot, don't we? About the rest of the Caribbean don't need a visa for Europe, but Jamaicans do. So for Jamaicans, it's difficult to get to Amsterdam because they need a visa. So the flight passage, I understand, from Jamaica, so you don't need a visa, is from Jamaica to Panama. You can go to Cuba, but that can mess up your passport for America. So Jamaica to Panama, Panama to Turkey, Turkey to Ghana, and there you don't need any visas.
What a disgrace. What a disgrace. But, you know, we're going to have to fix this.
Europe, then you're going to need a visa.
Go through Europe and then go through the Ottoman Empire and then go to to Africa.
So you go from Jamaica to Panama to Turkey to Ghana, and then you don't have to worry about the visas in Europe, because you won't come into Europe.
Right. Okay, well, so it sounds all good to me, you know. I know Ghana pretty well. I know how these things work. And the minute I sat in on that forum, I recognized that this was at a whole different level. So that I'm going to encourage my listeners to find out more. Go to the website, clarityvisas.com. Shoot Rachel a message to say you're interested. And take it from there. We get so many questions in this space about how do I repatriate to Ghana? How do I get land in Ghana? And then to hear this now, that there's land for free, all you have to do is to develop that, then I think this is brilliant news. Anything else we need to know, Rach, about this?
You only just reminded me they'll be more than welcome, because another lady has set up a Jamaican restaurant in Asebu. So me and Ghanaian food, we're not too, we don't gel too much. So I would eat my rice and peas and curry mutton and stewed chicken at her restaurant, which is also in Asebu. So you don't have to go far.
Brilliant. So we're going to put that on the list. Thank you very much, Rachel. Thanks to Ankobia too for setting this up. Rachel, as usual, it is a pleasure talking to you. Whenever we talk, it's always about progressive things on the continent of Africa. And this is what I love about having these conversations with you, my sister. We'll keep in touch with this, and we'll see you in Ghana in October.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everybody.
All right, and let us know what happens with that Armageddon alert. All right, my sis.
When we lose our African connection, we lose our royal connection. When we disconnect ourselves from Africa, we cease to be a world people. Without the African connection, we are a disjointed people begging for the entry into somebody else's house.
Wow, Africa. Wow. This is such good news coming out of Africa. Above board, we understand that there are people living on the land already, people who have gone and built on the land and are building on the land. And so that it's good to grab this opportunity in the best way that we possibly can, make use of it. For those of us who consider going back to Africa, living in Ghana in particular. And from what we heard from Rachel Okello just now, this is good in terms of the location, because you're talking that near to Cape Coast. Sounds good to me. All right, so there's some things happening.